Back again. Graham Little, knee Peter Pope, health politics advocate and part-time lawyer, and we're on the subject of the NHMRC and also the Friends of Science in Medicine topic and the update for the week ending 5th of August. So I'll let you have a little bit of time to see if you can click into this, and I'll give you some background to the week and also what might happen next week. So I notice we've got Mr. T there. So and Ms. J. Are you able to see the names? You probably can't from your end, is that right? Just put a tick if you can. Yeah. Hi, Julie. Anyway, Collingwood, by the way, is getting beaten by Richmond, would you believe? That's pretty amazing. And maybe I should watch the last quarter and not get quite as bored. But what I was going to update you with is the letter I've just sent to the National Health and Medical Research Council, because I did send them one on the 26th of July and haven't had a reply, so it's a bit of a worry. And you'll recall that this whole problem with natural therapies is driven by two key relationships. I could put others, but I think the fundamental way to break this open into the public arena is to highlight the conflict of interest between our government's peak medical research body that reviews all the clinical recommendations and does reviews on natural therapies, and make that very accountable, that body, and then highlight the links that they have with the Friends of Science in Medicine. So if you want to check out both those sites, you've got the nhmrc.gov.au, and the Friends of Science in Medicine site is scienceinmedicine.org. And the big clue, and some of you would have already seen the post today on the Friends of Science in Medicine by another person I haven't met yet, but I can't wait to meet that particular individual. He also has discovered a link that I did some weeks back to the Institute of Science in Medicine in the US. Now you can actually get that off the Friends of Science website tonight. I didn't realise they'd actually put it up there. I mean, I found it through another means going right back to 2009. So all of the names that are behind the similar body in the US, I mean, this is just like a puppet in Australia for the absolute peak people in the pharmaceutical industry in the world, in the Institute of Science in Medicine. So we'll have another little expose on the global equivalent of the Friends of Science in Medicine, and it might blow your mind when you see the names that are there, and then we'll run through some of those and you'll realise just what a mess Australia's in. So we're in absolute stranglehold of this global domination, and those that have put any modest amount of research knows it's to depopulate the world. So Billy Gates has said it 4 times in different videos that his vaccines are going to depopulate the world. So that's not a really great sign. They're going to do a lot for our health, let me tell you. Now, last week I sent a letter after I'd done 5 separate forums with the NHMRC. I've spoken several times with the CEO, Professor Calso, who's our absolute numero uno immunisation influenza specialist in Australia, and extremely well credentialed and well recognised around the world. So she's been given a further gong by being the CEO of the whole NHMRC. Also had detailed discussions with the chairman of the review committee. They're reviewing the near 900 million a year in grant scheme right this second. Submissions closing 25th of August. I'm working on one, and there's several practitioners I know in the natural arena going to put some in too. So get in touch with me if you want some help with that. So I didn't get any response to my concerns last week, so we're raising the bar because this week the Friends have done their usual routine military assassination of my character, like they do to everybody else, and I was just waiting for it to come. I was surprised it's been so slow, but I've only had like one comment that I'm an anti-vaxxer, so they're, they know that I've been attacking every single area of medicine, not just vaccination recently. So, no, I think I'm up to about 6 people that have called me a liar in writing on the website. So that's pretty good. Actually, it's not the website; it's actually on the Facebook page, the Fight Pharma Corruption page. So. We're having a lot of fun there. I will put out all that in due course, but let's just see how it transpires. There's at least 6 that have defamed themselves, in my opinion. 4 of whom that are friends, at least, of science in medicine, and we do have some of the we have executives, and of course we have Dr. John Cunningham, who's the main spokesman really in the press for the Friends of Science in Medicine, because mainly they're focused on vaccination. So let's just see how it transpires, because they're alleging that I'm a liar because I personally pulled my live Facebook event to talk about John Cunningham calling me an obnoxious P. Why would I call that off? They're very clever though. They think they've found a way to sort of show that it was me. Well, that's great. So I'm trying to get it all clarified with Facebook as to how I actually did that. I don't think I'm that clever. And I've got all the screenshots. John have been given of all of the emails that John Cunningham on his own Stop the Australian Vaccination Network did everything he possibly could to incite all his members to stop me having the event. So I don't think it'll come out in the wash that it was me calling the event off just quietly. But anyway, let's see what happened, because surprise, surprise, on the same night that I'm getting this incredible Facebook attack, I'm also getting a total rearrangement of my LinkedIn site, which is supposed to be private, and all my draft posts that I've got ready to go in this battle. I've got 385 draft posts. So I've been writing this stuff for about a year at least, and I'm not even sure what I wrote about a year ago, but it'd be all pretty good stuff and all ready to go when the war heats up, which is right now. So somehow somebody's got into that and had a good look and rearranged it all and changed all the dates and moved things around. So we might have a little legal action with LinkedIn next week by the look of it, and we'll find out who actually did that. But very clever, and all happening on the same day that I was attacked on my Facebook page. So pure coincidence, I would say. I'm not alleging there's any link with the Friends of Science in Medicine, but then poor old Essendon players, they're banned on circumstantial evidence as well. People thought circumstantial evidence was good enough for them. So if it's not the Friends of Science behind tampering with my LinkedIn, well, that'll be interesting. I wonder who else is out there. So the letter I've just sent off to the head bureaucrat is along the lines of the following. I've had an exciting week with the cherry pickers, gang tackling me on the Facebook site, and then calling me a liar and, as we know, an obnoxious P. They also, I allege that they should be held to account by many arms of government for their bias, their illegality, their criminal intimidation, their conspiracy, let alone the size of the grants their members collectively receive every year, by peer review panels under the NHMRC's grant scheme. So last week I said I'd offer to do a behind closed door negotiation, which is pretty much what I did last year in Risperdale. I did a 10-week campaign, all behind closed doors, with Minister Lay, the Health Minister, also Minister Greg Hunt, the Environment Minister, also Graham Samuel, all behind closed doors. And a year ago to yesterday, Risperdale was banned for the dementia in 2 categories, vascular and mixed dementia. So that was a drug given to the elderly, and it had always been banned in the US and always had a death risk in the US, and of course we forgot to tell people in Australia. So I was hoping we could do something behind closed doors, but that deal is off. Friends of Science have raised the bar this week, so I'm raising the bar. And the questions I've asked are as follows. did you get any response to having a meeting to discuss this potential link between the Friends of Science and the NHMRC? Would they put a request to the council? They don't actually have a board, the NHMRC, they have a council, it's effectively a board, for an immediate review of the relationship between the NHMRC and the Friends of Science, in particular, publicly disclosing any participation by a Friends of Science member on any of the NHMRC committees, and there's about 4 or 5, and I'll be putting a spreadsheet up on my page soon. I'm working on all the committees that there are, and then we're going to create a huge Excel spreadsheet. So all the committees along the top, and then all the names down the bottom, and then we're going to see who's on all these committees, and then link them back to the Friends of Science in Medicine. So we've got a matrix of what's happening. Now, there's advisory bodies, there was also consulting bodies, there's peer review panels. They don't disclose the names as far as I can see. We're going to ask for all of that. I couldn't even find conflicts of interest for the council members, so I'm hoping that that is publicly available, and I've asked for that. I may be wrong. I tried for some time to find that. They do disclose the conflicts of interest in the Australian Immunisation Handbook. That's probably not going to work all around the wrong way, isn't it? They do disclose the actual conflicts of the committee behind the handbook. So it's the NHMRC CEO, Professor Kelso now, but it's the CEO of the NHMRC that approves these immunisation handbooks, but there is another advisory group called the Australian Technical Advisory Group on Immunisation. So they do declare conflicts of interest, and the 10th edition was chaired by Professor Terry Nolan, so we might have a little bit of a focus on his conflicts of interest another time. So strange to me it wouldn't be easy to find the council members, the actual board of directors, and I'm particularly interested in Professor Kelso because I have been given a press release that she was very, very involved with the CSL organisation involved with the influenza vaccine. So I'm hoping that there has been some disclosure of her shareholding because it was an issue in her previous area. So that'll be interesting. And the other one I'm interested in is there's 37 peer review committees. So when you get a grant, there's 15 people sitting around the table at the NHMRC. Now, we're up to about 160 million the Friends of Science in Medicine got. So it's going to be very interesting who sat around the table and gave the Friends of Science members their grants. So they probably won't be too happy to give us that. But look, it'll come out in time. There'll be FOI requests. There'll be every possible politician. We're not going away now. And there's also another concept buried in the handbook. You've got to read all the fine print here. I believe, and I'm not 100%, John Cunningham will probably be all over my website telling me, you know, I don't know anything and I'm lying and I'm doing all this stuff, John. But I noticed here that there are currently disease-based working parties. So every vaccine's got a disease-based working party. So that's another bunch of people. There's 95 names here as well. So there's a lot of people in that. So all these names will be put up on a spreadsheet, and we'll give it to John Cunningham and his team, and we'll give it to the NHMRC, and we'll ask them to fill in the dots or ignore it or whatever they like to do. But eventually we'll fill in all the gaps as to who has been making all these decisions and who has conflicts of interest, and is there a very serious problem we have in the Australian medical research industry. And anyone in natural health knows that there is, because they've just effectively prohibited any practice of natural therapies by deciding there's no clinical evidence supporting any of the 17 natural therapies. So they're very definite about that piece of science, but when it comes to the immunisation handbook, they actually say, look, it's all a bit hard. It's been around for too long, bearing in mind all the natural therapies have been around for thousands of years. But they actually exclude in the handbook, they say, due to the longevity of the handbook, which has only started in 1975, I might add, and the scope and the complexity, the handbook's guidelines differs from all the other guidelines in the medical profession and the natural therapy professions. So they let them off the mandatory guidelines. So Mandatory means mandatory, except if it's a vaccination, and there's another 300 to come in the pipeline. So let's just see where we get to with that. I have got inquiries out with Facebook and LinkedIn. We'll find out how all this went, and then Monday night at 9:11, I'm going to switch to 9:11 p.m. We'll invite to Dr. John Cunningham, and we'll debate whether I'm a liar, no one's a liar, or someone else may have caused that Facebook page event to disappear last week, or earlier this week. And by then I hope to have some more information from LinkedIn as to what that might be about. So I invite John to go live with us, and I'm hoping John will be party to that. Or it could be any of the other friends of science that have called me a liar. I mean, happy to debate it publicly with you. Happy to go to your sandpit, John, as you said. I mean, we can go to the Epworth Hospital, or we could go to the Royal Melbourne, which is where another one you're in. And I don't mind where you want to discuss this, but I'm very happy to do it either Facebook Live or you come up with something better. So until 9:11 p.m. On Monday, I'll sign off and hope you have a good weekend. And the footy score, Richmond 67 and Collingwood 56. So we're in the last quarter, so I might watch the last quarter. Thank you very much, and have a great weekend.